different than how it is now. Being, excuse me, being involved with, you guys being included in this community and being able to actually share this kind of stuff. It's really, really it's captivating to say the least. It's really I don't think I have words for it. Um, because when I first started digging into it, I was like, basically, yeah, like coming home. I mean, it's like a home that I started to know was always there, but it's my first time seeing it. It's my first time really feeling, welcome. Um, and it gave me that sense of purpose. But before I even knew about other kin and draconic communities, and I'm sure I can speak for some of us when I say that I thought I was uh, I thought I was maybe alone, or at least one of very few kind of going down this path. So it didn't it didn't not deprive, it didn't derail me, if you will, from of course continuing with it and exploring it, but it made it difficult to think like, okay, I can't be the only one, but how do I go about exploring it, And some of you may know the website, the Draconic, I think it's draconic.com. I found that very first, and it's a great website. It's very dormant. There's not a lot of activity on there. Um, and then but there was a link to another server of otherkin, and that's what kind of got me started with getting into Discord. I never touched Discord before before all this. I still try to figure out how it all works, but nonetheless, one thing led to the other, and now I'm figuring out that there's quite a surplus of all different kin, not just dragons, but all different types. And it's something that it truly is, you know, it's comforting, and it's a relief as well, because and everyone and agreeing with some comments and topics that were made in Lunet's panel, like it can be perceived in so many different forms. It doesn't have to be just psychological. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It doesn't have to be just this or that. Long and the short, it doesn't have to be labeled. Everyone's experience is personal to their own. Everyone, and engages with it different. Everyone comes about it different. Just like anything. It's a very personal involvement. And Syrinax came to me in a very uh not necessarily fragile, but a tender time in my life, because and I already mentioned it, but for years it was always just I never really gave the time to try to understand who I was. I was always jumping into things most of my life, whether it be like relationships. I used to be that guy that wears the heart on the sleeve all the time, jumping into things and just like, let me worry about this person before I even consider myself. I'm like, I'm made of stone, I'll be fine. That doesn't matter how strong anyone is, that type of mentality can start to take a toll. It eventually did. It really actually did start to break it down. So when I found Syrinax, and when I found that connection, it really started to open up a little bit more about who I am and who I feel as far as spiritually goes, because I was always introverted, never liked to talk, never as you probably already guessed, I wasn't one for uh, talking in front of crowds. Still kind of shaking. You could probably hear it in my voice. But the reason I wanted to jump into a panel so badly is because that kind of spiritual connection, that kind of thank you, that kind of connection that I finally was able to make, it almost kind of ignites a lot of that. Ignites, ironic as that is, it ignites a lot of those types of emotions and traits that I've never been able to really bring out myself. this is for many, many years. Um, with that as well, the whole thing about it too, because for one, obviously, physically in my state of mind, thank you guys, I appreciate it. Um, wait, what was I gonna say? Um, one thing about it as well, because like physically, just like a lot of us, like just the pure image of a dragon is awe-inspiring. It's an amazing thing to look at. I love dragons ever since I can remember. I still have my PlayStation 1 with Spyro and all the way up to the Dawn of the Dragon series. Like I've like played them all. But yes, the best. Um, but basically there was a lot of not only him allowing me to break out of that shell, but it also allowed me to really take um take control of a lot of things. Year of the Dragon. I'm still finishing up A Hero's Tale. For the first time in my life, I'm playing A Hero's Tale, and the fact that you can play Ember and Flame is amazing. Sorry, squirrel moment. Um, but it's exactly, Julian. It's a connection is so immense. Like, and it's why I have trouble even bringing it up because you know it's just it's something that's not very easy to just bring up. It's not something that's looked at the same in a lot of ways, unfortunately. So it's like, okay, I have to go about it myself physically, but that's not the case here. We're all in this together. And for anyone who has brought it up to others, like physically in your life, you have my utmost respect because I'm still trying to find the courage to be able to even try to do that. Um, what I was gonna go into next, now that you can't, yeah, no, you really can't. It's really a feeling. It's something that's natural, and only you can experience it. Only you can have that feeling. And I'm not too educated on like astral kind of stuff, emotional stuff, or excuse me, not emotional, spiritual kind of things like that. But I do have a thought process towards like, when say someone gets chills or goosebumps, there's a difference between getting chills because you're cold or you're sick, and there's chills you get when you hear something really, really nice, like whether it be music, someone says something really awe-inspiring, or you just get those type of what they would probably call spiritual chills. It's all about your intuition and how you approach it, of course. But when I first really discovered Seer, it was it was literally that. Nice dragon get the chills from cold. That is a question. Um, and it's gonna have like 400 responses, just like bagels. So I don't know. That's another discussion for another day. But one thing that was really kind of awesome about discovering Seer is, and kind of goes back to not all dragons obviously are of elements. There's all different types. Not every dragon has this and that. They're not labeled in some sort of way. It's not a set thing. It's completely diverse amongst every single one. The reason why though, in case anyone's wondering why an ice dragon? Well, because it kind of dives back down to the majority of my life where emotion has always been a somewhat of a stronghold, if that makes somewhat sense. What I mean by that is I am very, very emotional as just a being, as who I am. Whether it be happy, whether it be, sad, whether something sporadic happens, I have to check it out, or if someone else is happy or hurt or whatever, it bounces off me. So, but the one of the biggest factors in my life was always having like a short triggered, hair triggered temper. And it's something that I've despised for the longest time. You know, it's as a kid to now. Well, not even as much now because I am. I think I've come a lot. I've come a long way from it, but it's it was a toxic, kind of a corrosive emotion. It wasn't even a natural like temper outburst. It was just corrosive. Like it some at some point in time found its way into my life because I'm a being of happiness. I love seeing others doing good. I love seeing, that bliss. I love seeing just the goodness in other things. And that toxic, complete contrasting emotion entering my life at some point took over. And obviously bad relationships didn't help with that. So slightly before discovering Seer, I was learning how to basically extinguish that toxic fire, that burning rage, if you will. And the only thing that made sense to kind of put out something that was burning, that was destroying things, that was taking over was, out of ice, something soothing, something relaxing. Because it's gotten to the mental state now where the second the brain or even the heart thinks of something or feels something that's negative, finally was able to flip that switch and just push it away, let it go. And every time that happens, it's one of I want to say it's one of Sears' ways to just basically tell me that's not what you want to feel. It's not it. We know who we are and we know what we want to do and we know what we want in our lives. But that negativity, that toxicity, is not it. And it kind of explains more why he's the soothing ice dragon that he is. Um, it's it's still, I'm still like learning every single day. I'm not saying like I know everything about him at all yet. That's not at all the case. Um, Especially because I've only been aware for a couple months at this point. But that's kind of the that's kind of where I'm at with him. And it's really kind of awe-inspiring to not only find that, but to be able to see because I've read, so many different of everyone's introductions here and backstories and I want to engage more sometimes, and I'm sorry I don't. Again, I'm just kind of a nervous third here, so but like just hearing everyone else's backstory behind it is really it's comforting. As it was mentioned before, it makes you like feel like you're home. Um, so I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to kind of just contemplate a little bit more. Very nervous third. Um, but yeah, and Syrinax, as most of you know, he's a very tiny Derg. He's tiny. He's small. Um, because the I'm actually quite small in this life. I'm only 5'8" and like 120 some odd pounds. I'm tiny. So like when I envision him, when I think about him, oh yes, little Derg, nuzzles. When I when I try to think about him, when I try to see him, he's small. He's not big. He's like I want to say a good 7 feet tall and maybe 10 feet long to the tail. Like he's not big. We're nimble in this world, and I've grown to peace with that. And I think that's another reason why I see him like that because throughout high school, throughout all that stuff, I used to hate how tall what I am. I'm like Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. I'm noodle. I'm tiny, but I eventually came to peace with that, and like look, I am who I am. Just like we are who we are in one way, shape, or form. We're all our own way in a beautiful way. And there's nothing to be ashamed about that. And that's why I think I see him the way I do. We're small and tiny. That's about it. Um, but I was gonna go somewhere with that. Somewhere else. I was gonna keep going, but then I don't know. Oh, thank you. No, thank you guys for just for listening. I'm I'm getting more comfortable the more I can talk about this because this outside of our one I keep saying community. I want to just say family at this point because it is. I never I don't know how to really describe it to anyone else because it's just that initial fear of being just like looked at differently. Because realistically, with like with my mentality, if someone doesn't like me, then that's fine. I don't care. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, what if I'm trying to tell family or something? What if I'm trying to tell close friends? And that's where it gets, tender. That's where it gets a little nerve-wracking. But and I'm trying to read your comments while saying this, and I can't thank you enough, guys. But it's something else, man. I've the only way I really kind of started seeing Seer the way I do, I have like a process with it. Just and I think everyone's got their own way of going about it, and mine kind of started off with because I love ambience, I love natural atmosphere, I love that kind of just Zen type of just feeling. What I mean by that is I have this playlist, for example, on YouTube. It's this channel I follow where it plays nothing but like theta waves and delta waves, and all sorts of natural ambient sounds. And if they have them going on for hours, it helps me sleep for one, but for two, it allows me to basically sit where I'm at, I put my headphones in, and I just kind of, shut out the rest of the world for a little bit. And a friend of mine that I met through the Otherkin server that I'm in, they actually kind of showed me a couple different ways to not only like kind of relax the mind a little bit, but to actually go into a deeper mindset where everything else is quiet, where you can actually see with your mind's eye. And it took a little bit to kind of get into it, but once I finally did, that's when Seer started to go from a silhouette to the ice blue dragon that you see, because once that hit, that not only that spiritual connection, but the feeling just like I don't even have the words for it. It was literally just a surplus of just energy. It was the surge, and it was really something else to describe at the least. Um, and I think I was going to mention like because there are spiritual chills that you can get if that's kind of like your intuition on it because there's different chills for different things, but that spiritual feeling, that connection, that because my personal attachment is spiritual at this point. I don't know if it's a co-current spirit or if him and I are strictly one. I'm still, like I said, I'm still just kind of learning on how that all goes. Um, but he just kind of helped me find who I am and helped me kind of just feel a little bit more complete. And it's really just it's I don't even have the words to kind of explain it really, but you know, finding that was I don't even know. But yeah, no, that's thank you. It's really cool. And I thank you guys for dealing with my silliness and my, you know, erratic ways in chat. Always just crazy. But that's how I am. I'm a very sporadic, very happy-go-lucky kind of being. That's what I thrive on. That's my It's my intake. I like seeing others happy. I like feeling happy. It's something serious brought out in me a lot, and that's it's different. I can't even say I'm the same person at all that I was for the first 26 years of my life. Because that hollow, empty feeling was always there, and now it's filled. It is really something captivating, to say the least. Um, in case anyone's wondering where the name Syrinax comes from, it honestly has been kind of an alias, well, a deterrent, if you will, from an alias Syrinax, which is a alias I used for a lot of other things. In for small other stuff like gaming profiles, all sorts of other things. So Syrinax was like the originating name. Syrinax was kind of like the name that stuck, and it works. And now I'm known as Seer. Not a Seer like a oracle or nothing like that. I'm just Seer. Work with Syrinax. But just in case anyone wanted to know kind of where the name comes from. But outside of that, I mean, don't really have too much else to delve into because I'm again I'm still kind of newer to this, so I'm learning as I go. But if anyone would like to ask anything or say anything, by all means, let me know. Oh, and I'm trying to read this chat as well. Oh, thank you guys. No, I'm should be thanking you for real, because yeah, this is really something different. So I really do thank you all for listening to my spiel. Not alone. That's what I love the most. Not being alone in this. That was the hardest part in the beginning, was trying to find it, because I know there's like ancient Chinese religions, that surround, dragon religions, or their ancestors were dragons, and that's different discussions. But I was like, I don't know if I want to go into it as like a religious aspect, because it doesn't feel like it. This was, more spiritual kind of thing. It was something that was just more personal to me, and it's kind of how it went. But yeah, no, guys, thank you. For real, I appreciate it. And no one's alone. We all here. Wing hugs to all. Wing hugs all. My pleasure. I'm happy I could be here in the summit, first ever summit. Well, next year I'll definitely have more. All right. But outside of that, I think I'm all good. As far as just kind of introducing myself, and now you guys know the voice behind the crazy iceberg here. So you know a little bit about me a little more. Rosie, thank you. Silver, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Oh, it's melting. Oh my goodness,
Sir,
it's
would you like
raining.
the stage to be open for questions?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, if others want to speak, I can let them on stage.
Okay.
Here we go. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello.
Yep.
Perfect. Good opportunity to talk. First of all, uh, kudos, mate. I mean, I read that you have awakened just a few months ago, and now you're doing already a panel at a convention. That's absolutely great. I wouldn't have had that.
Thank
I
you.
wouldn't have been that brave. That's so great. Um, Yeah, question maybe. As if I understand it right, then Syrinax is an entity that lives someplace else. So you speak of him as if it were an external individual, yeah, that you're connected with. So I wonder, what is your take? How does it work? Where is he?
That's that's a question as good as mine because it does feel more so like that at the moment as like a third person perspective. Like I'm trying to hone in and figure out if it is just solely like we are one kind of thing, but it also does feel like, he himself as his spirit is also kind of influencing and embodying myself as well. As far as his origin or where he resides outside of just within, it's I'm still trying to figure that part out. But the the feeling it gives me when I delve more into it day by day, he's definitely something that kind of guides me, that really just gives me that motivation. He's a part of me that I never knew, if that makes sense. Um, so it's almost like both, if that works. But no, like it's just trying to learn as I go and figure out more and more about him. Thus, same time trying to figure out more about myself. And thank you for that earlier about doing the summit. I was really nervous about doing it. As most of I was just like, oh gosh, here we go. But I wanted to get to
Yeah.
know everyone and be able to get more involved as much as I can. Yeah, I hope that somewhat answers your question.
Yeah, pretty much. The thing is, so do you talk to Syrinax then?
Not like out loud that, but like mental kind of just if I'm trying to understand something, or I'm trying to understand an emotion or a situation I'm in, I think from his perspective as well, outside of just mine, where because it's really just more of like a almost like he has some like sort of interpretation that helps me kind of understand things a little more outside of this tunnel vision mindset that my human esque brain is trained to do for most of my life. I get that second opinion almost like um it's really hard to explain. It's really hard to put into words. Not only that, but because I've never talked about it really before. But
Well,
in my head and in my heart, it's pretty much daily that him and I converse. Whether it's me talking to myself in that matter, or if it is a separate entity, that's something I don't know yet. Though.
yeah, it sounds a bit like, or actually a lot like, you are on a journey of self-exploration, and that
Oh
is
yeah,
known to many of us. It is a journey that is, in my opinion, is absolutely worthwhile to take, but it can take a while, to my experience. I'm I'm actually also, like many others, on that journey, and I hope that you will get to know a lot of techniques and examples on what can help you along your path through this um, to this convention. and through your interaction with the community. I think that that's one of the greatest things the community has to offer.
Absolutely, and I couldn't be more happy or proud to be part of it too. So I, again, I thank you all, and it's this lifelong discovery. You know, we're all learning and adapting and growing with it, you know, every single day. And me being more newer to it, I'm more than excited to just try to learn as much as I can and learn everyone what else. Excuse me, learn what everyone else is and has experienced too. You know, it really broadens the perspective and it really helps kind of understand the entirety of it. So it is really, it really puts me at a loss of words sometimes. The journey never stops. Nope.
Yeah, that's true. Since no, I don't know if anybody else would like to speak. If somebody likes to speak, just raise your hand. I think otherwise I'll have another question
Mhm.
about the spiritual chills you mentioned. How does it feel like? Can you somehow explain?
It's it's really, really something else. Like it's something we've all had chills, right? I mean, you know, when it's when it's cold or you know, some folks are a little more hyper reactive to certain sounds, which is I think more of just actual like a physical thing. But it's a similar sensation. But there's certain things I can think about or hear, you know, I don't get any kind of trigger or response from it. Um, but anytime that almost ethereal voice or outside voice speaking in regards to Seer or speaking in regards to my Draconic identity, it's just this overwhelming mass of goosebumps, hair on end, and almost like a shake at the end, like your body almost shakes. It's very, very surreal because it only happens, and I've discovered this. It only happens when I have them in my mind. You know, and so the more I started thinking about it like that, I'm like, only getting this when I think about Seer. And
Mm.
and I just started doing a little bit more investigation on it, and it's very similar to just goosebumps, but it's more of an encapsulating body um,
Mm.
goosebumps, if you will.
This makes me wonder because I have a similar thing, but for me it feels like that kind of tickling along my spine. It just
Mhm.
starts usually at the lower back, and then it propagates upwards uh, to all the limbs, or sometimes all the limbs, sometimes even to the head. And I've discovered that this is known as ASMR, autonomous sensory meridian response, I think.
Mhm.
There is YouTube videos about it. Yeah, some people get it when they listen to specific sounds, for example, vacuum cleaners or hair dryers or rain. So that is a well-known phenomenon, and it happens to me too when I listen to specific sounds. Also, temperature differences created, but I've discovered that also mental images and thoughts can create this kind of spiritual chill, so to like, for me. So if I'm thinking about something that really feels right, then it will also happen. So that's why I'm asking. Yeah. I sometimes take this as a sign that a spiritual idea is right, that I get these chills.
Exactly, exactly. Because I mean, you already know at that point because there's a difference, you know, between hearing something like, you know, say, you know, hair dryer, nails on the chalkboard, or whatever the sound may be, and then that having that feeling of something being right. You maybe can't see it, you maybe can't feel it, and maybe even explain it, but it's there. And that's the that's the uh that's what differs from the rest of it. What gives it
To me,
its uniqueness.
to me, it feels actually it pretty much feels the same, to be honest. So I think for you, there's maybe some kind of additional element to it that I don't have. I mean that's possible. Anyhow, if I've also noted that if I'm meditating and I'm getting really into my own space, then sometimes things happen that just touch me really, 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 really intensely, so that I would just get tears. I mean, there is a specific dragon in there, and I think she's my sister. And every time I meet her, we hug each other and we play each other, and I really get tears if that happens. And that is immensely beautiful. So that's another sign maybe of that you found something that is so innate to your true self that it has this special meaning.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with that. The fact that it can cause that emotional reaction for you, that's something very, very powerful in itself and beautiful. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing though. That's awesome.
Thank you again. Don't want to hijack the stage, actually. Maybe we take a look at some other questions in the chat.
In case anyone has any, I is open book. I see you.
Hi, it's me again.
Hey, how you
Hi.
doing?
I'm doing fine, and obviously you're doing too, which I'm feeling even finer with. So, um,
Hey,
so first of all, again, thank you very much for your story, and it was so great to listen to.
thank
What
you.
I'm
I'm happy.
very curious of is how is your family's connection to dragons? So you've mentioned that at the beginning of your panel that it basically went down to, what was it, 1940, around that your grandmother designed basically the drawing or the printing that you now have as a tattoo on your back. But
Oh,
did you elaborate a little bit on that, or did you dig it up a little bit? I'm interested to that.
yeah, happily. In fact, I can even add to that a little bit with this. I'll post it in the chat as well. So yes, back, yeah, I want to say it was like the 40s or so, because my grandmother, well, maybe in the 50s, but because my grandmother was born, I believe it was 1939. Um, and she made this when she was, young adult, but she made this mosaic. We still have it to this day, so it makes this thing, you know, 80, 90 years old. But she made this here, and I really mainly got it after I've had this for almost 2 years now. Um, we keep it obviously in her memory, but to commemorate her a little bit. But my grandparents' involvement with dragons, whether it be, like Chinese dragons or just the form itself, it's always stuck around. And even my parents, of course, they love every idea about the dragons and everything else like that. I've been curious. Thank you guys. It's something I take much pride in, and it's huge. The thing weighs like 150 pounds, so moving it is like impossible for me. But it's also made me curious, like if even if they are or not aware, like are aware or not, if they perchance are somewhat related in a draconic way. That's always something I've been curious about, but I don't know. Again, I've never really brought this stuff up. Um, and so thank you all. That I appreciate that. It's it's one of my most proud pieces out of what I got on here. Um, but yeah, the involvement family wise has always been lifelong. no matter what, there was always dragons around, no matter what it was, and it just brought more of that influence on me personally, because I've always been, abounded one way, shape, or form since the earliest I can remember, and it just started making more and more sense the more I was waking up to um the draconity. So it. I wish I could have known this a long time ago, so I could know more. But one of my personal favorite sayings is um, nothing worthwhile comes in good time, because everything is going to happen at the right time. You can't force it, and you can't you just can't force it. That's all you can say. Everything worthwhile will come when it's supposed to. And then that's when I was able to finally find out more about myself. That's pretty much it. So dragons have always been around, and I guess back to the 40s in that case.
That reminds me of another thing. Actually, I discovered that there was an otherkin community back in the 90s. When the internet was still a very new thing and so on. Yeah. So of course I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that there were others. Yeah. So that's typical feeling. But I didn't join because I thought that those might be strange people, unsure. So what were your experiences or expectations? Sorry.
Like, as far as joining the community?
Yeah.
Um, man, at first I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know much about it yet. Obviously, but simultaneously, something in the back of my mind was telling me that it's going to be nothing but support, something like a true threshold of very similar yet extremely different, varieties of, beings here that, can come together and congregate, if you will, and share who they are, and you don't have to feel alone. I was nervous. That's first and foremost. I was most nervous about it because I was still in that mindset of, am I am I kind of on my own on this, or at least one of the very few? But I completely disregard that thought now that I've been able to enter into the community and within minutes just completely be relished with nothing but this positivity and this relativity that we all share. It's one of the greatest things. Probably one of the biggest milestones of my life.
Yeah, yeah, just the same as it was for me. And actually, I I've got the spiritual information, so to say. I am convinced that we are thousands. That there are thousands of dragons now on the planet, and maybe some of them don't even know. Um, but I think the community as it is now, that's only a fraction of all the dragons that are around.
Oh, I would wholeheartedly believe it. There's probably, if not thousands, there's probably even more. This it there's no way there's not, because it's just see how much it really connects with a lot of folks. I can only imagine there's so many more out there, especially.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dragons
yeah,
unite.
S, flap wings, dragon unite. Would anyone else like to ask anything, make any comment at all? Oh, I opened the chat. Dean. Okay, I'm EP2, but thank you. Thank you for being here, all of you. Oh, you want me to break that time, that tear in space and time. You know you do. Oh, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Now you know about more about this crazy ice dirt, so and why he's absolutely crazy. Because I'm crazy. Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. But I think that concludes it. So one last time, thank you all. It was a pleasure being able to introduce myself and talk with everyone here. And thank you, Dragon Worms, Dragon Blips, and Beans. Oh, I love that one. I'm saving that picture because that is adorable. Several people typing. Oh my god. Oh, thank you. Okay. Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you all for. I hope it was somewhat entertaining, and I know I ramble a lot, but I, it's something that gets me super excited. I'm super passionate about, just like all of us here. So, you, all of you are absolutely amazing. And I know I've only been here so long, but I love all of you. You are all incredible. No, thank you all for real. I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional being. I can't help, but thank you. There's always more stories to come as we delve more into this journey together as one. I know that GIF is so cute. I've seen like 4 or 5 so far. No, there's probably even more. They're just absolutely adorable. — 800. Oh my gosh. I do say GIF. And Moss, thank you. That's really the best way I could put it. Finding that light, and now I can see everything. We all kind of know how it's like, how that goes. So no, I really do thank you guys for listening in. Oh man, still shaking a little bit, but it's good shakes. Good shakes. The G is for graphic, yes. So yes, yes. Oh, don't get me started. You know what's gonna happen. You already know what's gonna happen. Oh, well, too late. You all are adorable. But all right, I think I is good for now, and we will all do our thing amongst chat and possible voice chats in the future, and we'll share all sorts of things together, I'm sure. So, but thank you guys, thank you all for real. First time I've ever been able to talk about it. Ah.